I've transmigrated into a sweet pseudo-sibling romance story. Unfortunately, I'm the villainous supporting male character. I don't want to be villainous. So, while the female lead is still young, maybe I can win her over first? Anyone can be a brother figure, right? Part 1. Childhood Acquaintance 1. Willow Ashworth wasn't some doll-like cutie in her childhood. She was a pitiful child in our village, unloved by her father and uncared for by a mother who had left. No princess dresses, no little leather shoes, only ill-fitting clothes and pants, and she went barefoot all day. She was utterly filthy, a mucky pup in tattered rags. Her face was smudged with dirt, dark patches here and there, and streaks from wiping her runny nose were crusted black on her cheeks. Her hair was so dirty it was matted. Imagine those left-behind children in impoverished regions you see in public service announcements. Yes, that was her image. Having just transmigrated, I was still a bit dazed. The original Sincere's grandfather, George Clark, had bought him a small cake. He was delighted and went to show it off, teasing the female lead. The female lead threw a stone at him, hitting his head, and the small cake fell. The original Sincere was the cherished grandson in the family, spoiled since birth. Thus the feud began. Every time he saw her, he'd try to torment her. He was determined to get revenge, until the female lead left. When they met again in university, seeing her dazzling, he fell for her, pursued her, tried to sabotage her relationship with the male lead, persecuted her, and framed the male lead, until they found evidence and sent him to prison. He was killed in prison. I touched the spot on my head where I'd been hit. Not too bad, the bump wasn't huge. That little wolf cub was glaring at me fiercely from a short distance away, looking like she was ready to pounce and snatch something at any moment. No, wait. With the way this girl looked right now, she was just asking for a beating. How was this bullying? Forget it, she was only a little over 6. Never mind that my 22-year-old soul could be her father. The original Sincere was 10. I wouldn't stoop to a child's level. I silently picked up the small cake. The cream was ruined. Only the golden cake underneath remained. I brushed off the dusty parts and placed it on the low garden wall. The wall wasn't high, about a meter. I was a head taller than the wall at that moment. "Hey," I called out to her, pointing at the small cake, then turned and went inside. She was too dirty. I didn't want to get close to her. I hid in the house, peeking through the window. Willow Ashworth seemed not to have expected this turn of events. Her fierce eyes showed a moment of stunned silence. Then, like an animal pouncing on prey, she rushed over, grabbed the small cake, and ran. 2. The next time Willow Ashworth loitered by my gate, I swiftly poured the leftovers into a large bowl and placed it on the garden wall. No greeting, just turned and went back inside. I didn't want to bother with her at all. In fact, I felt like the original Sincere, wanting to chase her away with stones or a stick. She was quite scary. Those eyes, cold and dark, staring at people, made me feel she was up to no good. "Why haven't you been chasing that girl away these past 2 days, my grandma?" Martha Clark asked me. I scratched the back of my head, spouting virtuous nonsense. My teacher said we should be helpful. And besides, didn't you and Grandpa say? Her dad drinks and doesn't care for her, and her mom ran off. She's so pitiful. My grandma lovingly stroked my head, saying I'd become sensible, that I'd grown up. I just wanted her to remember this act of kindness, giving her food so that in the future she'd completely forget about me. 3. A sharp, piercing crash echoed from the yard. I was doing my homework and jumped in fright. The bowl I'd previously placed on the wall had shattered about 2 meters away from me, into tiny pieces. I gripped my pen tightly, as if I were gripping Willow Ashworth's damn head. Little rascal. This was the 4th bowl. The first one never came back. The second vanished without a trace, and the third was found smashed in the drainage ditch outside my house. Excellent. The 4th one smashing in the yard was like leaves returning to their roots, I suppose. And that little rascal had already run off without a trace. 4. I placed a bowl on the garden wall, and next to the bowl I put a piece of candy, green transparent plastic wrapper. You could clearly see the round candy inside. I found a bamboo stick over a meter long and hid behind a dense, leafy bush. I felt like a mischievous kid setting a trap for sparrows in the snow. Incredibly excited. As soon as she came, I would punish evil and promote good, delivering justice on behalf of heaven, scare her to death if I didn't teach her a lesson. She'd think my family's bowls grew on trees after getting several mosquito bites. I finally saw Willow Ashworth limping towards me. I frowned. Hadn't she run off at lightning speed this morning? How did she end up limping after only an hour or two? As she got closer, even the caked-on dirt couldn't hide the large, oozing, bruised bump on her forehead. When she saw the candy, her small body suddenly froze. A look of bewilderment, born from utter shock, spread across her face. She stood there, looking for a long time before slowly reaching out to take it, carefully, as if it were a priceless treasure. A pang went through my chest. Was the female lead this pitiful in her childhood? She didn't even have a single piece of candy. Seeing she was about to leave, I hurriedly stepped out. "Hey!" Willow Ashworth jumped, startled. Her whole body recoiled, her dark eyes wide with terror. Her reaction startled me too. "Don't break my bowls. Put them back properly, remember that." I dragged the bamboo stick past her. She stood there, motionless. I thought for a moment, then took out the remaining candies from my pocket and held them out to her. "Here." She stared blankly for a long moment, then turned and ran off quickly, limping, swaying from side to side, her bare feet on the stony path as if she didn't feel the pain. I even worried she might fall with one of those sways. Thankfully, she didn't. I looked down at my palm. A few candies lay there quietly, their wrappers bright and colorful. I clenched the candies, deciding to give her another one next time. 5. My grandpa came back before dinner, chatting about things he'd heard in the fields. Willow Ashworth had been beaten by her father, Peter Ashworth, that morning, because when her father woke up from his drunken stupor, there was no hot water for him to drink. I remembered her bleeding forehead, her limp, and the several welts revealed on her arm when her sleeve slid up as she reached for the candy. That meal was a bit hard to swallow. 6. Sometimes I felt like I was feeding a stray dog, like right now. I didn't see Willow Ashworth, so I tapped the small aluminum basin with my chopsticks. Why switch to a small aluminum basin? To save my family's bowls. Willow Ashworth soon appeared, drawn by the sound. She watched me from a short distance, her gaze clear. A pair of bright, dark eyes stood out on her incredibly dirty face, wary, guarded, and yet faintly expectant. That look in her eyes, it really tugged at my heartstrings. I silently placed another milk candy on the chopsticks. I nodded as a greeting and turned back into the house. I had also considered, why not swoop in while she's still young? A pseudo-sibling romance, the nurturing type. Anyone can be a brother figure, right? But on second thought, I decided against it. I wasn't that desperate. 7. My parents ran a small business in the city. While I lived with my grandpa and grandma in a village not far from town, I would go to the city for middle school after graduating elementary school. And Willow Ashworth, 3 years younger than me, had started elementary school this semester. Apparently, it was during a teacher's efforts to implement a school dropout prevention and attendance program that they discovered an eligible child not enrolled. They found her home. Only then did her drunkard father send her to school. Her father didn't want to send her to school because she was a girl. During the week-long school holiday, I raised her for 7 days. Although it was all leftovers, it was warm and nutritious. From smashing my bowls, to throwing the aluminum basin and chopsticks back into my yard, to now washing the basin and chopsticks and putting them back in their original place. She was grateful in her own way, I guess. The dents on the bottom and sides of the aluminum basin from being thrown could be ignored. 8. Grateful, my foot, that little rascal snatched my filled bun. Mrs. Higgins, the stall owner, handed it over, and just as I reached for it, she grabbed it and ran off in a flash. I looked at Mrs. Higgins. Mrs. Higgins looked at me. She clearly wasn't going to cover the loss. I silently took out another dollar and bought a plain bun instead. The filled bun was $1, the plain bun 70 cents. My grandma had given me $2, so I had 30 cents left. I was supposed to buy a pen with that dollar little rascal back in the classroom. I collected homework and organized the morning reading session. The boys were incredibly disobedient. No matter how I called out, they didn't react at all. The anger from having my bun snatched finally found an outlet. I slammed my book on the teacher's desk. Bang, the sound laced with my fury was earth-shattering. The classroom instantly fell silent, everyone looking back in terror. I glared coldly at the disruptive boys. Try making trouble again, will you? You bunch of rascals, you're here to study in the morning, not to fool around. Get back to your seats immediately. Perhaps my adult Weishili deterrent force aura kicked in. The 10-year-old kids, though outwardly defiant, sullenly returned to their seats. Listening to the melodious sounds of reading, looking at the innocent fourth graders below, I truly felt like I was in a dream. I, a 22-year-old adult, was now a fourth grade elementary school student, and the class monitor. I was pretty awesome. During the second period's morning exercises, I was actually the leader. Was I really that good? Fortunately, I had the original Sincere's memories. Otherwise, I would have been utterly humiliated. The exercise leader stood on a raised platform, so I immediately saw, to the left of the stage, a first grader, a filthy wretch, looking like a gutter snipe, being scolded by a teacher. Standing ramrod straight, eyes on the ground, left foot rubbing against the right, looking stubbornly defiant. Just looking at her made me angry. 9. Lunch at school was the government-provided free nutritional meal. It was edible, enough to keep you alive, but hardly delicious. But Willow Ashworth could eat 3 large bowls. She shoveled rice into her mouth like a starving ghost reincarnated, stuffing her mouth full with every bite, chewing perfunctorily a couple of times before swallowing. Watching her, I felt very uneasy. The girls I knew in my previous life, which one of them wasn't raised with a silver spoon in her mouth. 10. I supervised the sweeping, locked the door, and placed the key on the windowsill of the teacher's temporary housing. Just as I got downstairs, a few older lads, the upperclassmen bullies, rushed past me, carrying Willow Ashworth. I stood there for a moment, sighed, went back upstairs, and knocked on the 6th grade teacher's, Mr. Davies's, door. Chalk it up to playing the hero. The teacher was very anxious. I didn't feel much anyway. She wouldn't die. By the time they found her, Willow Ashworth had been thrown into a paddy field by the roadside, drenched from head to toe, covered in mud. Only a pair of chillingly cold, somewhat crazed eyes remained. The field was large, with very little water. Dark mud poked through the water's surface, and rice stalks sprouted green leaves. She sat in a corner of the field, small and lonely. My heart clenched. The original Sincere had encountered this too. Let it happen, even mocked her, splashed water and threw mud at her, teasing her thoroughly before leaving. I walked to the edge of the field, extended my hand. Come here. The mud-caked figure sat motionless in the field, her eyes bright and icy. What should have been childish innocence was now filled with a grim determination to drag someone down with her. I thought for a moment and offered her a candy. Her eyes slowly turned towards the candy. Her dark pupils constricted slightly, revealing a hint of grievance. Come here, I urged, holding the candy further out. After a long while, she tried to stand up. The heavy mud seemed to want to pull her small frame down into the mire. She used her hands and feet, stood up, knelt, and finally managed to stand and walk over to me. A hand completely caked in mud, with no skin color visible, reached out. I withdrew the candy, grabbed her hand, and put it in the water to wash. Her hand was so thin, so small. Her bones were sharp. I felt a tightness in my chest. Let's wash off the mud first. 11. The teacher frowned as if facing a monumental problem, and finally said to me, Classmate, please take her home. I said, Teacher, you'd better deal with this. Willow Ashworth's father is a notorious drunkard in the village. He hits people randomly when he's drunk. In the end, After discussions with the parents of the 6th grade students, they arranged for Willow Ashworth to be taken to be washed, and she was even changed into someone's old clothes. After these few days, I finally got to see the female lead's true appearance. Oval face, big eyes, fair skin. Apart from being a bit thin, she was quite pretty. Worthy of being the female lead, she followed behind me like a shadow, carrying someone else's old school bag. It was huge. The bottom of the bag almost reached her knees. The books inside were probably old ones from some 6th grader. Her original school bag was grimy, one strap broken and tied in a makeshift knot, the zipper broken, gaping open like a bloody maw. No idea which garbage heap she'd salvaged it from. Today it met its end in the paddy field. I turned around, she stopped, looking at me coldly. "I didn't like you snatching my bun this morning. If it happens again, I will definitely hit you. Just try me." She looked up, glared at me fiercely, and quickly ran forward. I shouted after her. Candy. She stopped abruptly, turned, rushed back, snatched the candy, and ran off. I couldn't help but spit. Little rascal 12. My grandma asked me why that girl hadn't come for so many days. I said I didn't know. Perhaps because I said I'd hit her, she held a grudge against me. Tapping the basin no longer summoned her. The food left on the garden wall remained untouched, surrounded by mosquitoes and flies. Or maybe she was eating lunch at school and could barely manage, so she didn't need the food I provided. I thought I'd persist for 2 more days. If she didn't eat, I'd stop putting it out. 13. The female lead wasn't suddenly unhinged. She had always been unhinged. She wrung a cat's neck, right in front of me. Motorbikes often ferried passengers on the village road, speeding by. A tiny kitten, unable to dodge in time, was run over. It coughed up blood, its limbs twitched, unable to even meow. It wouldn't survive. Willow Ashworth was about 2 meters away from the kitten, witnessing the tragedy. I was a few meters behind her. She stood for a long while, then slowly walked over and picked the kitten up by its ears. The kitten was still struggling, twitching, but its movements were very faint. I thought she would move the cat to the roadside, maybe stroke it a bit to comfort it. I was overthinking. She held the cat's head in one hand and its neck in the other, and twisted sharply. A chill instantly ran down my neck, the hair on my body stood on end, and my scalp tingled. I took a step back. She looked back at me, her eyes indifferent, as if they couldn't hold a trace of worldly emotion, like a demon, yet also like a deity. She didn't move, and I didn't dare to. The chill brought by the autumn wind seemed to freeze me inch by inch. It wasn't until another motorbike roared past, and the laughter of students approached from a distance, that I felt like I was back in the human world. She moved too. She slowly cradled the lifeless kitten in her arms and walked onto a path bordering someone else's field. I hesitated for a moment, then followed. I was afraid she'd go mad and roast and eat the cat. She didn't eat it. Reaching a small grove, she picked up a branch, dug a pit, placed the cat inside, buried it, and even covered it with many dry leaves. Looking at that small back, I suddenly understood her motive for the swift kill earlier. Better to die quickly than to suffer a lingering death. A quick pain is better than a long one. But she was not even 7 years old. I truly couldn't imagine what kind of life she lived to make her so ruthless at such a young age. 15. I took out a lidded lunchbox from my school bag. It was one my grandma had bought to bring me porridge when I had a cold in 3rd grade and couldn't eat. "Willow Ashworth," I called her, "this lunchbox is for you. After lunch at school, fill it up and bring it home to eat. Remember to tell your teacher." She turned around, staring straight at me. Her eyes were too clear, appearing extremely cold, like a stagnant icy pool in a winter wasteland. Only coldness remained, devoid of life. "Come and get it," I raised my voice. She slowly got up, walked over, and stood motionless in front of me. I bent down, reached over her shoulder, unzipped her bag, and stuffed the lunchbox inside. She already had a stale smell about her again. I wrinkled my nose. "You're a girl. You should change clothes and bathe more often. I don't have any clothes." I choked, thought for a moment, and took her hand. This hand was so dark, so dirty. I sighed inwardly. You should wash your hands and face as soon as you wake up in the morning. Come home with me." I went home and explained my idea to my grandpa and grandma. We found my old clothes, put them in a bag, and gave them to her. Then I brought the wash basin outside the garden wall. I made her watch carefully, learning how to wash clothes. Soak with washing powder. Count from 1 to 100. Then stomp on them, then scrub by hand, wring them out, change the water and rinse 3 times, then hang them up on hangers. Got it? She nodded. Grandpa and Grandma finished cooking and called her to eat with us. She refused. I put some food in the small aluminum basin, added rice and gave it to her. She took it, squatted by the door and wolfed it down. Little rascal. 14. They say some people spend a lifetime healing from their childhood. Willow Ashworth's wretched childhood would probably take several lifetimes to heal. Her family was registered as impoverished. Her father took that meager subsidy to drink and gamble, leaving her to fend for herself. No rice, no vegetables. Her father ate his fill every day, neglecting the rest of his family. When Willow was hungry, she would scavenge or pick up things to eat everywhere. If she couldn't find anything, she would steal. If caught and brought to her father, he would beat her savagely without a second word. Even though she was a girl, precisely because she was a girl. Just like now. I leaned against the wall, listening to the thump, thump, thump of beating from the corridor. If you didn't know, you might think someone was airing out their quilts on a sunny day, beating them with a clothes hanger to make them fluffier. But no, it was someone being beaten, a small child being mercilessly punched, slapped, and kicked by her own father. The sound of each blow landing on her body struck my heart. The school restrooms weren't on every floor, but at the edge of the playground. I went downstairs to the restroom and happened to see her being kicked, sent flying. From the classroom door, she flew to the balcony wall, like a doll thrown out of the house. Crouched there, powerless to resist, unable to resist, unwilling to resist. I quickly ducked back behind the wall. I didn't want her to see me. A teacher tried to reason with the drunkard, saying you can't beat a child like that. Her father said, "This is how you beat thieves. Beat them until they're too scared to steal again." What did she steal? She stole someone else's clothes hanger and washing powder. Oh, I taught her to wash clothes. She was very obedient. She washed them. But she didn't have washing powder or clothes hangers at home. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. The pain kept me rational. I couldn't rush out and beat that scum. So when he left, as he reached the stairwell, I saw him. I rushed out abruptly, ramming straight into his back. The stench of alcohol and filth almost made me retch. He fell, and I fell too. I quickly scrambled up, bowing my head in apology. "Oh, it's Mr. Ashworth. I'm sorry, Mr. Ashworth. I didn't do it on purpose. I was rushing to the restroom and didn't watch where I was going. I'm sorry, Mr. Ashworth. Hurry up and go then." "Thank you, Mr. Ashworth." I ran quickly to the restroom. 15. After school, I sorted through the clothes hangers at home. I picked out the deformed and peeling ones, poured half a bag of washing powder into a plastic water bottle, and placed it on the garden wall. I tapped the aluminum basin. Willow Ashworth peeked out from behind someone else's wall. I pointed at the items. "Take these home." She dawdled over. Her hair looked washed, though it was a dull yellow from malnutrition. It was clean. She had changed her clothes. It was a boy's long-sleeve sweatshirt with Superman printed on the chest. She didn't smell bad anymore. Just some places weren't washed clean. I pointed to the area behind her ears and her entire neck. When you wash your face and bathe, wash these places too. I handed her another candy, pursed my lips, and asked quietly, "Does it hurt?" The child's hand holding the candy stiffened for a moment. Then she shook her head. She clutched the candy tightly, her eyelids lowered, standing ramrod straight. This wasn't stubborn defiance at all. It was the fierce determination of someone struggling to survive. I reached out and ruffled her hair. My voice couldn't help but soften. "It will get better. It definitely will. Your biological mother will come for you. Your stepfather will be good to you, and you'll have a brother who takes good care of you." You will fall in love with him too. 16. No matter how early I got up, my grandma was always earlier. She had breakfast ready, telling me to eat first so I could read for a while afterwards. When I had my school bag packed, my grandma handed me a plastic bag containing 2 grayish-purple sweet potatoes. These were baked in the stove embers last night. Give them to that girl. I called Willow Ashworth over and reminded her to say thank you. She mumbled, not saying it. Grandma gently stroked her head. No need, no need. Just a few sweet potatoes, they're not worth much. Eat up so you can go to school with a full stomach. I didn't have high hopes for her, so I tugged her clothes and started to leave. Thank you. The voice was as faint as a mosquito's buzz. I thought I'd misheard. I patted her head. Good girl. Let's go. At school, I went to the 2nd floor, she to the 1st. When I came down for morning exercises, she was standing at her classroom door again. Her teacher was questioning her sternly and impatiently about why she hadn't done her homework. She stood there silently, like a tree stump. If you don't do it again, I'm calling your father. This threat was probably severe, but Willow Ashworth showed no reaction. 17. I didn't intend to manage her. There was no mission or system compelling me to. Perhaps deep down I was a saint. Thinking about it, I decided to first enable her to support herself. When my grandma was planting cabbage, I tapped the aluminum basin with chopsticks and summoned Willow Ashworth. I made her learn. The little girl looked uncharacteristically bewildered. Learn, I said. Learn so you can go back and plant them, support yourself. Stop stealing food. She watched intently until the end. I gave her a bowl of rice and put a small half-bag of cabbage seeds in the pocket of her Superman sweatshirt. Go back and sow these in the ground. If you don't understand something, come and ask. Watching her walk away, I couldn't help shouting, Remember to do your homework, 18. Willow Ashworth and I developed a routine. She would come to my house in the morning for a simple breakfast, follow me to school, and after school, she would wait for me and follow me home. Some classmates teased me about having a little tail. I ignored them. Other boys and girls mocked her for being a tag-along. She showed no reaction. But if someone threw mud at her, she would charge at them like a maniac, wrestling people half a head taller than her to the ground. I struggled to pull her off and scolded her. She said, Your clothes can't get dirty. I was speechless. I patted the mud off her clothes. If your clothes get dirty, you can just wash them. But if you get hurt, it will hurt. To prevent her from being bullied by older students, I had her do her homework outside her teacher's office. I would pick her up after school. Everyone started harvesting sweet potatoes, and I was in the fields helping my grandpa and grandma. They dug them out, and I was responsible for shaking off the mud and removing the stems. I saw Willow Ashworth standing motionless in the distance, staring blankly and coldly in our direction. I suddenly had an idea. Grandpa, Grandma, I'll be right back. I found a small rice sack, gave it to Willow Ashworth, and told her to bring it to me later. When she saw me leaving, she immediately started to follow. I pushed her back, held her shoulders, and instructed, You stand here, count to 100, then come over. Bring the sack too, understand? My grandpa and grandma asked what I was doing. I said I saw Willow Ashworth and told her to go back and get a sack, so she could help us sort some sweet potatoes and I'd give her a few. Willow Ashworth arrived with the sack, a tiny child holding the sack very properly. The sack obscured most of her body. A sudden pang of sorrow hit my heart. She probably thought I had entrusted her with something very important, hence her solemn posture and movements. I said very loudly, Willow, you're here? Quick, help us with these. When you're done, you can pick a few sweet potatoes to take home. My grandpa and grandma exchanged a look and loudly agreed, Yes, yes, little girl, hurry up. Grandpa will help you carry them home later. She didn't understand. She was completely bewildered. Perhaps this was the first time she had received such kindness, not condescending charity, nor dismissive rejection. She looked at me. I shouted at her, Hurry up, it'll be dark soon. She worked very hard, quickly and meticulously. A tiny figure squatting in the field. It was somewhat heart-wrenching. 19. The cabbages sprouted, a patch of vibrant green. Willow Ashworth, mimicking others, gathered many sticks and fenced her small vegetable patch to prevent chickens and ducks from ruining it. A few days ago, she went to watch Uncle Miller plant cauliflower, and he gave her a few seedlings. My grandma asked me to send her some radish and cabbage seedlings. Your little cabbages are growing really well. I walked around it, genuinely impressed. The female lead's hands were probably legendary Midas fingers, right? Good at whatever she did. Let me pull some for you. She was about to step in without a second thought, but I stopped her. Don't. I handed her the seedlings. My grandma asked me to bring these. Plant them as soon as possible. She hesitated, seemingly wanting to say something but finding it difficult. I propped my hands on my knees, half squatting, and asked her, "How many sweet potatoes do you have now?" 3 big bags. In a few days, my grandpa will bring you 10 pounds of rice. By then, others will likely follow suit. Why don't you clean up your house and find a place to store the rice? She nodded gently, then suddenly turned and ran home. Looking back as she ran, "I'll bring you some water." A 6 or 7-year-old child mimicking adult etiquette. I didn't know whether to feel sad or gratified. My heart felt heavy. She carried the water carefully. The porcelain bowl was spotless. The water was crystal clear. "I washed them," she said, fidgeting with her fingers. "What?" "The water vat and the bowl, I washed them." I encouragingly ruffled her fluffy hair a couple of times. "You did very well." So that was why. I hadn't drunk the water immediately, and she was afraid I thought it wasn't clean, so she explained quietly. I drank the water and handed the bowl back to her. "It's winter now. Remember to boil water to drink or you'll catch a cold easily. I'm sincere you're here." A slovenly, lecherous-looking man suddenly appeared at the doorway. It was Peter Ashworth. Before I could react, Willow Ashworth spun around, her small frame spreading her arms slightly, like a protector. I was instantly deeply shaken, so weak, so scared, so brave. "Mr. Ashworth, my grandma asked me to bring you some vegetable seedlings. I'm heading back now." I patted Willow Ashworth's shoulder. "You be careful. Don't provoke him. I'm leaving." 20. Willow Ashworth's teacher called me to the office, said Willow had been fighting, and asked me to discipline her. I was very surprised. "Teacher, I am not Willow Ashworth's guardian. I have no obligation to listen to your lecture here." She was suddenly at a loss for words. "But you want to change her, you want her to improve. That's your kindness and professional ethics as a teacher. But those shouldn't be transferred to me. We're not relatives. I'm just a boy from the same village, an older acquaintance." Walking out of the office, Willow Ashworth was at the door, looking like an abandoned puppy, aggrieved yet furious. Her fists were clenched, glaring at me fiercely. I slapped my hand on top of her head. "I'm good to you because I'm kind, but I'm not your mother. Some things are not my responsibility." I turned and walked away. That little rascal was still angry, but I hadn't even gotten angry at being inexplicably scolded, told that as an older brother I wasn't taking good care of my younger sister. Still fuming, I walked back and slapped her on the back. "Why were you fighting? What kind of fight requires slamming someone against a wall? You were too harsh if your teacher contacts your dad. Won't he beat you to death? Go apologize to your classmate immediately, otherwise don't talk to me." Willow Ashworth glanced at me quickly, then shot into the office like a cannonball and knelt down with a thud in front of the little boy. Her voice was loud. "I'm sorry, me, the teacher in the office." The little boy, who had been sobbing, was also so scared he stopped crying, his mouth agape. My eyes suddenly stung. This child, did she think apologizing meant kneeling? 21. On the way back, I gave her a long lecture. Apologizing mainly means recognizing your own mistakes and sincerely saying sorry. And you have to correct your mistakes, otherwise saying sorry is meaningless. No matter what, you can't kneel easily, unless it's for something very important or a situation where you absolutely have to kneel. As I chattered on, the child's eyes sparkled brightly, curved into little crescents, her face full of joy. Hey, that's strange. Why was she so happy being lectured? 22. During the final review period, I accidentally saw a language arts test paper with a score of 18. I was utterly shocked. The female lead, whose character setting was a top student, scored 18 in language arts. The book didn't describe the female lead. Childhood much. It was mostly mentioned in university, in conversations between the male supporting character and the female lead, and in her flashbacks. So, whether the female lead scored 18 in first grade was unknown. I shifted my gaze from the crumpled test paper to Willow Ashworth, who was doing her homework with her back to me, occasionally peeking at me from the corner of her eye. "Where's your math test paper?" She paused and reluctantly pulled another crumpled paper from her bag and handed it over. Although crumpled, the red ink was very conspicuous. 83, thank goodness it was just a subject imbalance. There were still 2 weeks until the final exams. It was too late to make up much. I taught her how to organize her school bag, told her to redo all the test papers she could find in a notebook over the weekend, and I would explain anything she didn't understand. I thought I was mending the sky like Nua, patching up some deficiencies, but it turned out to be like Jingwei trying to fill the sea. She didn't understand this, didn't understand that, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. I experienced the pain of being a teacher. Forget about the final exams, we'd catch up during winter break. After the exams, I had her bring her language arts and math textbooks, and I started teaching her from the beginning. My grandpa and grandma chuckled. Sincere as a teacher now, how impressive. Impressive or not, this student was truly difficult to teach. Question: the poem Sympathy for the Peasants was written by a poet from the dynasty named Me. The title of the poem is Sympathy for the Peasants. Below the title it states the poet and the dynasty he belonged to. Tang Li Shen, Tang Dynasty poet Li Shen. Willow Ashworth confidently put pen to paper. I watched helplessly as she wrote Li Shen and Tang in the parentheses. Suppressing a chestful of anger, I picked up my pen and circled the word Tang. This is the dynasty, fill it in the first blank. Then I circled the words Li Shen. This is the poet's name. The poet is the person who wrote this poem. Fill it in the second parentheses. Willow Ashworth erased the wrong answers and carefully, stroke by stroke, wrote Li Shen, hoeing crops under the midday sun. Me. Help, I need a fast-acting heart relief pill because of this question. I didn't let her come over for tutoring for 2 days. She didn't deserve it, little rascal. When the final exam results came out, I got 98 in language arts, 100 in math, and 99 in English. Willow Ashworth got 45 in language arts and 85 in math. I gritted my teeth and mustered the courage to take on the responsibility of tutoring again. I don't know if she suddenly got it or what, but Willow Ashworth learned very quickly. Except for occasionally struggling with language arts, she basically understood everything else as soon as I taught her. My parents came back to take me to the city for fun, and they also brought back the workbooks, reference books, and handwriting practice books I had asked them to buy. I left Willow Ashworth a lot of homework, enough to fill her entire winter break. When I was leaving, she looked at me with wide, reluctant eyes. I patted her head. I'll be back soon. I'll bring you candy and toys when I come back. Roughly, I'll be back when you finish your workbooks. Actually, I didn't have to go, but the original Sincere seemed to spend some time with his parents during every winter and summer break. I couldn't be an exception. 23. I brought Willow Ashworth 2 boxes of Snap Pops and 2 boxes of spinning tops, and a pair of shoes. These were bought with my allowance and the reward money my parents gave me, I emphasized. I hoped she would remember all my good deeds so that when we met again, we could smile at each other instead of her wanting to kill me. She held the shoebox unresponsive for a long time. I bent down to look at her. Willow Ashworth's eyes were crimson, tears welling up, her nose also red. Seeing Willow Ashworth like this made my own heart tighten, my throat choke up. I reached out, patted her head, and ruffled her hair. Her hair was very clean now, shiny, smooth, and soft, and had grown much longer. But it looked messy because it wasn't combed. It seemed I had to teach her how to comb her hair. Happy New Year, Willow Ashworth. She pursed her lips and after a long moment looked up at me. Crystal tears rolled down from her red-rimmed eyes, trembling on her cheeks. "Thank you, brother. Happy New Year to you too, brother." If colors could describe a person's mood, my mood right now was a white cloth splashed with countless paints, a complete mess. Sorrowful and angry because of her pitiful situation, sad and sympathetic because of her tears, satisfied and proud because she learned to take care of herself, and also happy because she called me brother. Willow Ashworth's father was sober for one day during the new year. He cooked, put up holiday decorations, performed family traditions, and set off firecrackers. Then he got drunk again. I took Willow Ashworth and my uncle's daughter, Lily Clark, along with a large group of village children carrying red lanterns, to go from house to house for New Year greetings. When we returned, our pockets were full of delicious treats and scattered lucky money. I put all the money and snacks into Willow Ashworth's pocket. "Here you go. Have a prosperous New Year at home." "Brother," I nudged her, "hurry home, it's too late. Remember to wear your new shoes tomorrow. New shoes for a new journey." Willow Ashworth walked away, looking back every 3 steps. I took my little cousin Lily home. Little cousin Lily was only 4. She looked at me with wide, round eyes and asked, "Brother, you don't let me call you sister, so what should I call you?" Me, little brat looking for a spanking even on New Year's 24. On New Year's Day, Willow Ashworth didn't wear her new shoes. She said she couldn't bear to. A semester passed, and her footwear changed from one pair of flanchy rotten shoes to another pair of bougie broken shoes. But I never saw her wear the new shoes, not even once. This semester, her grades were perfect hundreds, which made me proud for quite a while. It wasn't in vain that I made her recite texts and ancient poems on the way to and from school every day, and taught her math on weekends. She had grown taller and even became the class monitor in 2nd grade. At this time, Willow Ashworth had the image of a self-reliant, impoverished student. She wore old clothes and old shoes, but they were clean. Her hair was in a high ponytail, her back straight, looking ahead, her face expressionless, but she was neither servile nor overbearing. She had the feel of a child from a poor family striving for self-improvement. This was the kind of character public service announcements looked for, and wasn't it true? She had to grow vegetables to feed herself, do odd jobs everywhere to earn food, and ensure her studies didn't fall behind. The neighbors were tolerant and kind-hearted, willing to call her for small tasks and give her some rice, flour, or vegetables in return, preserving her dignity and allowing her to live with her head held high. Life was sustainable as long as she avoided her father. As she grew older and ran faster, she could avoid most encounters. Occasionally, when beaten, she could find a chance to escape and run to my house, where I would apply some iodine or medicinal wine. At the end of the term, she came with her award certificate, her face beaming with joy. I hugged her and spun her around several times. This wasn't just her award certificate. It was the result of my teaching usually failing, but acing the finals. I had asked her how she usually scored so poorly. She said, "I don't understand what the teacher says, but I understand when you explain it, brother." All right, I had a talent for teaching. In 3rd grade, Willow Ashworth's teacher, Mrs. Finch, met me and said Willow had written an essay titled, "My Brother." She said she knew at first glance it was about me, and she was very moved, even cried while reading it. She was originally going to read it as a model essay in class, but Willow Ashworth rushed to the podium and begged her not to, so she had to give up. She kept praising me, saying I was kind, helpful, and would definitely have a bright future. She also said she learned a lot from me, that helping people not only meant pulling them out of the mud, but also teaching them how to wash off the dirt and how to avoid falling into the mud again. My teachers praised me. Teachers from other classes praised me, and the principal praised me too. Because of this essay, I was even named a city honor student in 6th grade. One of the cited examples was my helpfulness in assisting a younger student to overcome the trauma of domestic violence, helping her receive support from neighbors, and helping her fall in love with learning and achieve excellent grades. I never thought my actions would be considered so great in others' eyes. 25. I thought that as long as I waited for her biological mother to come and get her, everything would be fine. It would happen in 3rd or 4th grade. I never expected her father to be so deranged. In the dead of night, amidst the silence, the sound opping ping-pang-pang ping-ping-pang-pang. A flurry of blows was truly horrifying. I heard Auntie Davis, who lived near Willow Ashworth, shout, "Peter Ashworth, you brute, if you keep hitting your daughter, you're going to kill her by." The time people hurriedly threw on clothes and rushed over, Willow Ashworth was tied by her hands and hung from a house beam, her head lolling, already unconscious. Even a vicious tiger doesn't eat its cubs. What kind of bastard was Peter Ashworth? The weather was already very cold. She was a girl, a 10-year-old girl hanging there, abused like this by her own father. How desperate must she have felt? When she fainted, did she think she was finally free? Damn it, several uncles carefully lowered Willow Ashworth. I quickly wrapped my large pajamas around her. Her body was ice cold. Her fair skin was covered in new and old wounds, a mass of injuries. I knew she wouldn't die. But my heart ached, tongue-wrenching pain. It was the 28th of the 12th lunar month. New Year was in 2 days. Other children were being spoiled at home, even their mischief excused because it's the new year. Willow Ashworth was being beaten black and blue by her own father at home during the new year. Willow Ashworth was sent to the hospital. 2 broken ribs, a cracked tibia, dislocated hands, minor internal bleeding. What kind of scum was Peter Ashworth? It was outrageous in the hospital. No one went to take care of Willow Ashworth. It was strange. Peter Ashworth had no close relatives in the village. This was probably part of the female lead's background setting. My grandpa said several families had pooled money. An auntie from the village, Mrs. Gable, who was in the county town looking after her daughter-in-law during her postpartum confinement, brought Willow Ashworth meals. I went to see her on New Year's Eve. The child sat woodenly on the hospital bed, like an empty shell without a soul. A dull ache throbbed in my chest. I walked over Willow. She looked up. Her eyes were cold again. I gently hugged her. "It's okay, it's okay. It will get better. It will get better." She couldn't be discharged for the new year. I bought her new clothes, new shoes, and snacks, and also gave her a red envelope with lucky money. When I left, the child said with a wooden face, "Thank you." Willow Ashworth was taken away by her mother. That was good. Away from her scumbag father, towards a new life. Willow Ashworth, I hope that when we meet again, you will have found happiness. Part 2, 10 years later, Reunion 1. A new semester, the same old opening ceremony, the same old scorching sun. The freshmen sat ramrod straight, their faces beaming with excitement and thrill, drenched in sweat, their sunburnt faces still full of spirit. The upperclassmen were like frostbitten eggplants, listless, half dead, with faces full of resentment and bodies exuding impatience. My roommates and I were cursing the blazing sun, the scorching heat, the administrators who insisted on holding the opening ceremony at 9 o'clock, and the MC who had just told everyone not to use umbrellas. "Hello, everyone. I am the freshman representative, Willow Ashworth." A girl's voice, cool and refreshing like a spring in a secluded forest, suddenly entered my ears. I froze. Willow Ashworth. It was unbelievable. I whipped my head towards Thezushitai main stage rostrum. A white dress, the speaker was shimmering in the sunlight. Shouldn't Willow Ashworth be at Northbridge University with the male lead? This was South Pine University. And I was a junior. Shouldn't she be a high school senior? Same name? It wasn't just the same name. It was Willow Ashworth. Her photos, videos, and gossip about her had circulated in my classrooms and dorm more than once. The little girl had blossomed into a graceful young woman. Every smile and frown was gentle and composed, every gesture elegant. Her eyes still held a chill, a quiet coldness. The gloominess and fierceness seemed to be hidden behind her composure and aloofness. Yet it felt like traces of it might be exposed at any moment. Many boys were infatuated with her. On the campus website, online forums, various photos, videos, and even fan fiction about her sprang up like bamboo shoots after rain. From my roommate's discussions, I realized, like a deity returning after a trial, Willow Ashworth had also returned to her position as the female lead, the center of attention. She was the bright moon in the night sky, as cold as frost, unattainable. But she didn't recognize me. A chance encounter in the cafeteria while getting food. She was walking towards me. As I debated whether to greet her, she walked past me without a glance. A sudden wave of relief washed over me. I let go of all my previous sujet indecision hesitation. I had only given her leftovers for a few days and tutored her for a while. Why should someone remember that so vividly? I was overthinking it. So, at the welcome party, after I finished hosting and came off stage, and she went on stage to perform, I also looked straight ahead and brushed past her. Thanks to a perfect piano and vocal performance, Willow Ashworth became famous in the school. I thought passing each other like strangers would be our ending. Then the dorm leader organized a mixer between our male dorm and a female dorm. 2. We dressed up thinking we looked incredibly handsome and arrived at the buffet restaurant. The demure and slender girl at the table made me stop in my tracks. Willow Ashworth. The Willow Ashworth I knew. What's wrong? Mesmerized by her beauty. Tom Jenkins nudged me. I shook my head. The campus goddess, what do you think? Took a lot of connections to get her to come. I remained non-committal. As we entered, the girls looked up. A flash of admiration crossed their eyes. Willow Ashworth glanced at us and then lowered her head, showing no emotion, no surprise at seeing me, nothing else. Perhaps in her eyes I was just a stranger. Fine by me, no disturbing each other. Tom Jenkins went straight to stand opposite Willow Ashworth. Hi everyone, I'm Tom Jenkins. This is William Carter, Sincere Clark, and Leo Young. I was facing a girl with long, straight black hair who smiled somewhat shyly. My other roommates also positioned themselves. The girls had different temperaments, all quite attractive. Willow Ashworth stood out particularly. I glanced at Willow Ashworth's expression, expecting some change when she heard my name. She remained calm and cool, unchanged. I didn't care anymore and just sized up the girl in front of me. She saw me looking at her and smiled shyly. I returned a warm smile. Bang, looking towards the sound. The cup in front of Willow Ashworth had tipped over, water spilling across the table. Several people nearby scrambled for tissues to help her wipe the table. Tom Jenkins even asked with concern if she had gotten wet. Willow Ashworth shook her head, her drifting gaze meeting mine. I nodded at her and looked away. After the small incident was handled, the girls began their introductions. Hello, seniors. This is Willow Ashworth. I'm Sarah Evans. This is... We shook hands and sat down. My phone suddenly vibrated. William Carter tagged Tom Jenkins. I want to switch with you. You can't win the goddess over. Let me try. Leo Young, better let me... My roommates started discussing. I silently turned off my phone. 3. When I came out of the restroom, the person opposite me had changed to Willow Ashworth. I looked at Willow, then at the others. What the heck? Had these animals really switched seats so blatantly? I looked at Willow Ashworth opposite me. She was eating with her head down, her bangs covering her forehead and eyebrows. Her eyelashes were long and thick, fluttering like a butterfly's wings. There was an overwhelming aura of a Guai Chao Dongshi demure and sensible good child. Wasn't that a bit strange? Just moments ago, she was cool and distant, making people feel unapproachable. Now this docile, easily bullied appearance. Little rascal, did you master the art of face changing in these 10 years? I always felt she was up to no good, about to cause some trouble. I said nothing and focused on eating. My phone vibrated. Leo Young tagged me. The little junior has glanced at you several times, looking more and more aggrieved with each look. Her eyes are about to turn red. At least look up at her, say a few words to her, you heartbreaker. I looked up. She buried her head even lower. I could only see her delicate nose, the tip slightly red, as if she had been crying. A passing glance showed the corners of her eyes were red. She looked like a pitiful, abandoned creature, utterly aggrieved. I was greatly shocked. This wasn't the Willow Ashworth I knew as a child. She was cold and fierce. Her grievances and pitifulness were restrained and hidden, giving a sense of stubbornness. So, had the male lead trained her well? This current image of a demure, sensible, innocent, and pure young girl. I was the supporting male character. I had to remember my role. I pursed my lips and chose to continue eating. Yes, I was a heartless heartbreaker. Stay away from the female lead, head towards a bright future. So after the meal, I directly waved goodbye. Brother. Willow Ashworth took half a step forward, a hint of cautious expectation in her eyes. Though cautious, her intentions were crystal clear. She wanted to get closer to me. But I didn't know what kind of closeness. Was it because of our friendship 10 years ago, or because of today's first meeting? So I refused. I have to go back and rush my homework. In the end, no one went to the movies. On the way back, Tom Jenkins asked if I had no feelings for that junior. I didn't turn my head, just slanted my eyes at him. Do you think I'm as desperate as you?
Yeah, you're Mr. High and Mighty. You're so great, everyone's favorite older brother.
If they can't be your girlfriend, they want to be your good little sister. You're the well-fed man who doesn't know the starving man's hunger. I was about to retort when a friend request popped up on my phone. I'm Willow Ashworth. The profile picture was a mountain range. Like an ink wash painting, half dark mountains, half pale sky. The scenery looked a bit familiar, but I couldn't recall where I'd seen it. Nickname Willow. I hesitated. Tom Jenkins pressed my hand down, and William Carter reached out and accepted it for me. I won't allow you to refuse to be an animal. I don't agree either.
I thank you both. You're welcome.
4. Tom asked how things were progressing with the junior. I said, haven't talked. Can't be that kind of animal. It wasn't that we hadn't talked at all. A few simple exchanges. She asked, brother, what are you doing? I replied, preparing to sleep. Do not disturb, she said, brother. Let me treat you to bubble tea. Me, dieting. Do not disturb. She, does brother hate me very much? Me, class. Do not disturb. She, does brother play games? Me, rushing homework. Do not disturb. Then, one day, Tom Jenkins cursed me in the group chat. Heartbreaker, the little sis is about to cry in her dorm. Can't you reply properly? I was a bit confused. How do you know she's about to cry? He threw a photo into the group chat. She was holding her phone with both hands, leaning dejectedly against her bed frame, head slightly bowed, eyebrows furrowed, eyes red-rimmed and glistening with tears, nose red, lips pouting, looking distressed and pitiful, like she had suffered a monumental grievance. I was stunned by this photo. When I rejected her, she looked at her phone so pitifully. Had this Willow Ashworth been possessed? Or was this the grown-up Willow Ashworth? Did I remember the book wrong, or did I transmigrate into the wrong book? I was in a daze. William Carter tagged me. Heartbreaker. How could you bear to Leo Young? Heartbreaker. Call her quickly, tell her you love her. Tom Jenkins, Sarah Evans said. Every time little Willow Ashworth musters the courage to send a message, she waits for your reply with cautious expectation. And then the little one visibly wilts, from energetic to dejected, then to aggrieved and on the verge of tears. She's so well behaved. Heartbreaker. How can you bear it? I was bombarded by a series of accusations until my head spun. Then, urged by them, I gritted my teeth and replied to Willow Ashworth's message inviting me for a walk, binge-watching a show. Do not disturb. I was just that consistent, that iron-hearted, this not quite real, maybe real Willow Ashworth. I couldn't afford to provoke her. I always felt she was about to go crazy in the next moment. I was trying to hide, but Tom Jenkins and the others arranged a barbecue. I only found out Willow Ashworth and her friends were there when I arrived. Willow Ashworth sat timidly on a chair and immediately stood up flustered when she saw me. Brother. She just said that one word, then pursed her lips and said no more, just stared at the ground. Tom Jenkins kept nudging me. She's the female lead. The female lead who is supposed to torture me and send me to prison. Although I didn't bully her as a child, and even took care of her a lot, who knew if she remembered kindness or grudges? Who could understand my suffering? Sigh. Knowing I shouldn't be deceived by her appearance, I still couldn't help but soften. I sat down next to her. A flicker of surprise instantly lit up her eyes, her eye rims gradually reddened, and a mist slowly gathered in her eyes, forming tears. Then, she looked at me with teary eyes. My heart felt like it had been heavily punched. What sins had I committed? Brother, I shivered. The soft, pitiful voice was a critical hit. I listened to you, brother. Please don't ignore me, I beg you. Those dazed eyes, looking at me with pure innocence, pleading softly. It's normal to feel soft-hearted, right? 5. A normal day, a normal end of class. Willow Ashworth suddenly appeared, standing at the classroom door, looking expectantly and cautiously at me, who was sitting in the second row by the door. She called out, "Sincere, brother." Her hands clutched her skirt, standing ramrod straight. Her hair was soft, bangs covering her forehead. Her eyes looked at me, then down, then up again, showing a bit of unease. So Guai Chao well-behaved, docile, it was heartbreaking. The bustling classroom seemed to fall silent, everyone looking at her. Amidst everyone's envious gazes, I walked up to her. The little girl's eyes visibly brightened, as bright as morning stars. I was a bit charmed, but it was still within controllable limits. I took her sleeve and led her to the empty classroom next door. "What's wrong? Is something the matter?" She lowered her head, one foot scuffing the ground, her voice very low. "Brother, it's my birthday today." She looked up, her eyes shimmering with watery light and expectation. "Can brother celebrate my birthday with me?" Me. One moment of soft-heartedness. Every moment of soft-heartedness. This was a sickness. It needed to be cured. I immediately took out my phone and transferred her 280. "Go buy the cake yourself, okay? Brother has class. Be good." I hardened my heart and returned to the classroom. As soon as I sat down, William Carter gave me a solid elbow to the gut, making my stomach ache. "You animal," Tom Jenkins turned my face, making me look at the classroom door. "See that, animal?" The little sis is so aggrieved her eyes are red. "What did you do, Leo Young?" Quickly gathered my things, slung my bag over my neck, pulled me up and pushed me out. "Go, animal, go comfort the goddess." I stood awkwardly in front of Willow Ashworth again. I tried hard to calm my annoyance. I smoothed my hair, adjusted the cross-body bag on my neck. "Let's go." "It's okay if brother doesn't want to. I'm used to celebrating my birthday alone. Brother got pushed out. Do you think I can just go back in?" I walked ahead. "Let's go. How do you want to celebrate your birthday? Did I make brother unhappy? No. Brother, can I hold your hand? Don't girlfriends hold their boyfriends' hands?" I froze. What boyfriend? Was this girl crazy, or did she suffer a head injury in these 10 years? She actually reached out to hold my hand.
I immediately took half a step back, little one. We're just ordinary friends, okay?
The little one tilted her head, an innocent look on her face. "Aren't you a boy, brother? Boys are boyfriends. Me. This is ridiculous." I managed a strained, awkward laugh. Next came the carousel, cotton candy, the Disco Tagada ride, ice cream, the Ferris wheel. Pity my old bones. After getting out of the taxi, we were in front of a 4-star hotel. I was about to explode, worried that I was the one with dirty thoughts. I stammered. Little one." What does this mean?" Willow Ashworth turned her head, her eyes downcast. "Doesn't the internet say, after 18 you can—" She bit her lower lip shyly, glanced at me furtively, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Goodbye." I turned and ran, scrambled back into the taxi and yelled desperately, "Driver, go quick." The driver floored the accelerator, and the car shot off into the distance. Escape was paramount. Escape was paramount. 6. I very seriously sent Willow Ashworth a message. "Junior, you're still young. Focusing on your studies is the right thing to do. Don't rush to find a boyfriend. I'm just your senior, an ordinary senior. If you can't distinguish our relationship, then let's not contact each other. As soon as I sent it, she immediately video called me, as if she had been waiting by her phone for my message. I fumbled to hang up and turned off my phone. That small action made me feel like I'd run 3,000 meters, my heart pounding wildly, gasping for breath. Oh my, that scared me to death. I slept very soundly. In my dream, I was still on the disco Tagada, saving a girl who was being tossed around. Willow Ashworth hugged my neck tightly, her smile icy. "Brother, you can't escape." I abruptly sat up, gasping for air. That scared me. After calming down, I looked down and met William Carter's accusing gaze. I was bewildered. "What's wrong?" "Sophie Williams asked me what you said to Willow Ashworth last night that made her cry under her blanket half the night." "Cry? Willow Ashworth? Really cry? Who cried? What did the heartbreaker do to make someone cry?" Leo Young leaned over. Tom Jenkins sat on the opposite bed. "Sincere Clark, you truly are a lady killer." "Me?" I turned on my phone. Willow Ashworth had sent several messages, "Brother, I'm sorry for making things difficult for you. Brother doesn't like me, and I still insist on getting close. It's indeed very annoying. Brother, I really like you. Please don't ignore me. Brother, are you really not going to talk to me anymore?" I could almost imagine Willow Ashworth pitifully sniffing and crying while sending those messages. I was truly deeply sinful. Then I replied to her, "No, I fell asleep." After sending it, I slapped my own hand. "Made you unable to resist. Made you unable to resist." Leo Young slyly commented, "You can retract it." Me, "Okay, too late to retract. I must have been possessed by a ghost just now." 7. "Sister, I brought you breakfast." My groggy morning brain instantly cleared. I stared at that line of text, lost in thought. This was her listening to me? This was the self-awareness of an ordinary junior. I said, "I'm not going to morning class. Help me answer attendance." Tom Jenkins turned back, smiling provocatively. "Little rascal, if you don't go down, we'll carry you down." William Carter and Leo Young silently gestured, "Okay." By the time I hurriedly went downstairs, a girl in a white dress stood under the ginkgo tree, strikingly beautiful. "Sis, brother." She strode over, smiling brightly and sunnily, as if all the happiness in the world couldn't compare to hers. Besides breakfast in the morning, she would accompany me to my classes when she had no classes of her own, save me a seat in the library, and occasionally ordered takeout bubble tea or spicy hot pot for me. My roommates kept praising how thoughtful the junior was. I was speechless. She also asked me to walk with her on the school's running track, watch club performances, see a movie, and watch their freshman basketball game. The little one completely ignored the ordinary senior-junior distinction. Whenever I questioned her, she would look at me innocently, cautiously, and pitifully, saying, "Brother, what did I do wrong again? Can't a junior invite a senior to a movie? Can't we walk and talk?" We didn't even hold hands. The junior was innocent. It was the senior who was too demanding, right? 8. For the public holiday cultural performance, she had a group dance. She practiced very late that night and asked me to pick her up. Thinking it was indeed unsafe for a girl alone, I went. At the dance studio, Willow Ashworth stood at the entrance in a black dress, looking at a painting on the opposite wall. The lighting wasn't very bright. Many art students' works adorned the walls. At a glance, the dark dance studio behind her seemed like an endless spatial monster, its mouth wide open as if about to swallow her. Or perhaps she was the master of this monster, waiting with bared fangs and claws for her prey. Very contradictory. As if sensing my gaze, she turned and looked directly at me. Her gaze was sharp, keen, and cold. My heart skipped a beat. Then Willow Ashworth's eyes curved, her gaze soft and docile, and she smiled, pure and innocent. "Brother." Her voice was gentle, both obedient and captivating. A chill climbed up from the soles of my feet, coiling around my heart. My heart suddenly constricted. After waving goodbye to the other dancers, Willow Ashworth and I went downstairs together. And then, She pulled out a rose from behind a flower pot, a cup of bubble tea from behind a sculpture, a box of dessert from behind a vase. The dance studio was on the 3rd floor. The walls of the stairwell had green plants and some clay sculptures and artworks cleverly embedded, creating a unique landscape. The interplay of light and shadow, the harmony of green plants and artworks, each a unique scene individually, merged into another kind of beauty. The first time I passed this wall, it was quite breathtaking. After 3 years, it was nothing unusual. Today, every niche held a surprise and anticipation. When we reached the 1st floor, the last niche, my heart pounded, and I unconsciously held my breath. I, an old man, was actually looking forward to a surprise prepared by a young girl. Shameful, yet exciting. There was a feeling of being valued, of being cared for. Willow Ashworth reached in and pulled out a red velvet box. My head, dazed by the surprise, suddenly cleared. This definitely wouldn't do. She was only 18, and a proposal should come from me. The box opened, revealing a woven red string bracelet with 2 red jadeite beads on it. I wanted to kill the part of me that had just been fantasizing. Brother, happy birthday. 9. To woo Sarah Evans, Tom Jenkins organized a viewing of a romance movie. I was done for. The thought of watching a movie with Willow Ashworth actually made me a bit excited, a bit shy. The cinema was dim and hazy. Only the light from the movie screen flickered, brightening and dimming. To avoid disturbing each other, our seats were chosen miles apart. Fortunately, there weren't many people, and from my seat I could accurately spot William Carter to my lower left and Tom Jenkins to my right. "Brother, why aren't you talking to me?" My hand was grasped by hers. I quickly pulled my hand back. "You..." She pursed her lips, her eyes bright and moist in the dimness. Wet puppy dog eyes. I sucked in a cold breath. This soft, innocent look was really a bit cute. "Brother, when will you let me be your girlfriend?" I nervously swallowed. You're very nice, but too young. Only 18. Willow Ashworth suddenly leaned closer, a sly glint in her eyes. Her warm breath fanned my ear, creating a tingling sensation. I shot up from my seat. Popcorn scattered all over the floor. She looked up at me, her eyes shining in the dim light, her upward gaze inexplicably conveying a sense of reverence. "Hey, in the front, you're blocking the view." A dissatisfied voice came from behind. I quickly sat down in an empty seat next to me, staring at the movie screen, transfixed. Willow Ashworth had changed. She was no longer that gloomy and fierce little girl. I had changed too. I had become less innocent. "Brother, lift your foot." Her voice was right beside me. My heart lurched, and I reflexively moved my foot away. I looked down. Willow Ashworth was crouched under the seat, picking up the popcorn I had spilled. She had already gathered quite a bit in the hem of her long skirt. I was inexplicably reminded of our childhood, the second New Year's Eve when we went from house to house collecting candy and lucky money. I still gave her my share, wished her a happy New Year, and she would hold her clothes just like this, a rare smile on her face. Her teeth were dazzlingly white. Unfortunately, I couldn't spend a 3rd New Year's Eve with her. The image of her on the hospital bed surfaced in my memory. I silently crouched down and helped her pick up the popcorn. One moment of soft-heartedness, every moment of soft-heartedness. Willow Ashworth smiled obediently, her eyes curving into crescents. "Brother, you're so kind." She handed out the good person card quite smoothly. "I could do that too. You're very kind too." 10. Back in the dorm, there was a red velvet box in my bag. The box contained a note, a line of characters strong and elegant like iron strokes and silver hooks. "Brother, these 2 red jadeite beads, don't they look like red beans? My love for you is bone deep, do you know?" A rush of heat shot to my head and my face instantly burned. I slowly opened the box. Inside, 2 red lustrous and watery stud earrings lay quietly. "Hey, what's that in your hand?" William Carter's boisterous voice sounded. I snapped the box shut and stuffed it into my bag. Nothing. The 3 men surrounded me, trying to snatch it. I took out the box, hiding the note. Then I was subjected to a barrage of sarcastic remarks. I could take it. 11. I never expected Willow Ashworth to find a love letter in my professional textbook while she was accompanying me to class. She held a thin white envelope between her index and middle fingers, a bright red heart drawn on the cover, and the words to Sincere, "Brother, what is this?" Her voice trembled, low and hoarse, her eyes red, hopeful, yet desperate, as if waiting for me to deceive her, yet as if unable to change the facts. She was in an incredibly fragile state. I felt that a small love letter didn't warrant such an end of the world, life and death, betrayed and abandoned look. "A love letter," I said. "What does the 9 mean?" Leo Young, in front of us, leaned back against our desk and whispered, "The 9th love letter. The 9th love letter from the talented girl in the Chinese department, Serena Vance." I poked his head with my pen. "Shut up. Brother, did you read them all?" Her voice was even lower, so low it seemed devoid of emotion. William Carter leaned over, read them all, replied to them all. These 2 sourpusses, beasts who delighted in stirring up trouble, hey. She seemed to laugh. The laugh was very light, as if born from extreme pain. Upon closer inspection, her eyes were already glittering with unshed tears, the corners of her eyes crimson. I was truly not human. A strong sense of guilt welled up inside me, making me tremble. I had to explain. Willow Ashworth suddenly stood up and walked straight out of the classroom through the side door. Professor Graham on the podium even joked, "Isn't the little one going to accompany her senior until the end of class?" Shocking, even the professor knew her. The little one even replied politely, "Hello, Professor. I have something urgent, so I can't continue listening to your lecture." It's okay. Go ahead." What was this elder-like affection and tolerance? 12. For several days in a row, Willow Ashworth didn't actively contact me. It seemed she had given up. Now that she suddenly wasn't revolving around me, I actually felt a bit unaccustomed, as if something was missing. Tom Jenkins cursed me for being a masochist. William Carter and Leo Young unanimously called me a heartbreaker and told me to go find Willow Ashworth. They even said they had already clarified things with Willow Ashworth's roommate, Sarah Evans, who would tell Willow it was a misunderstanding. I didn't. For the public holiday cultural performance, I inexplicably wore the red string bracelet. Although I knew that people on stage couldn't clearly see someone's hand in the vast crowd below, I was probably crazy. Seeing her on stage in a small camisole and hot pants, shining brilliantly, hearing the whistles, praises, and jealousy from the surrounding boys drove me crazy. I stormed into the backstage area. As she walked in, I threw a windbreaker over her head. I pushed her into a small changing room. "Brother, change your clothes first." I couldn't stay long. The teacher managing backstage told me to get out. I sent her a message. "I'll go buy you bubble tea. Wait for me." When I returned with the bubble tea, I saw Willow Ashworth talking and laughing with a boy. I knew at a glance he was the male lead. The book described him as gentle and refined, like the spring sun, bringing warmth to those around him, yet not overly intense. 14. After the holiday, back in class, our academic advisor, Mr. Harrison, gave us a few spots for a 1-year exchange program at Northbridge University. I held the application form, hesitating. Then I slapped my right hand twice. Still hesitating, still harboring some unrealistic fantasies. The male lead was already here 15. While I was in the library reading, just after Serena Vance had left, someone suddenly sat opposite me. Willow Ashworth. This brother was vastly different from before. Previously, the ending tone rose, giving a sense of dependence and innocence. This time, it sounded as if ground out between her teeth, the ending tone falling, as if I were her enemy. Her eyes were cold, her smile like a blooming flower. "Brother is so popular. Haven't you thought of me at all these past few days, brother?" I looked at her, inexplicably a little scared. The sheep's skin had been torn off, revealing the fangs of the wolf beneath. Was she done pretending? No, She slowly stood up and reached out to pinch my chin. The hair on my entire body stood on end in an instant. My blood ran cold. I also heard that brother likes more obedient girls. She leaned close to me, her breath like orchids. Damn it, brother, am I not obedient enough? Why don't you like me? You're very obedient. Just let go of me first. I grabbed her hand. Her other hand pinched my earlobe, gently caressing it. My whole body went numb. It was impossible to just fling her off. She grinned, staring straight at me. The kindness of meals should be repaid with oneself. Brother, let me repay your kindness, okay? The ending tone dropped, sinking with a burgeoning anger. I was so shocked my scalp felt like it was about to fly off. So she had recognized me long ago. Was she toying with me? Little one, brother doesn't like being played with. I'll let you off this time. Thank you for sparing my life, brother. I'll repay you with myself. 16. I thought I needed to calm down. At the deadline, I submitted the application form. Then I immediately packed my things and arrived at Northbridge University ahead of schedule. In the past, travel was slow. Seeing someone meant mountains and long roads. Now, if you wanted to metaphorically knife someone, even if one was in the capital and the other in South Pine, it could be very close. A feud started in the morning, a grave dug in the afternoon. I silently retracted the foot I had placed on a lower step. Willow Ashworth was at the bottom, smiling and looking up at me. I sighed and decided to have a proper talk with her. At the coffee shop, she held my Han Gui Gui Chow Chow obediently and sweetly, smiling charmingly, her beautiful eyes full of expression. Long time no see, brother. I also replied politely. Long time no see. Brother, I stood on such a high place, did you see me? Willow Ashworth's eyes were moist. When she looked at people, there was a cool clarity like a spring flowing over stones. I remained silent. Why didn't you come find me, brother? I retorted. Why should I have come to find you? Her peaceful composure showed the slightest crack, like thin ice on a river cracking, revealing the gloom and madness beneath the calm. Brother, it's been 10 years. Have you ever thought of me? When faced with a question you don't want to answer, you can choose to ask a counter question. Do you hate me very much? Why did you deceive me? Was it very enjoyable to watch me being played like a fool, spun around by you? Willow Ashworth stared at me intently, as if trying to find something on my face. The clarity in her eyes was gone, replaced by an exceptional sharpness. This was the first time I had seen such a look in a girl's eyes. But then she smiled again. Her rosy lips parted slightly, revealing neat, pearly teeth that seemed chillingly white, as if ready to pounce and bite me at any moment. Brother, I skipped from freshman year of high school to senior year, crossed the chasm of time and got into Northbridge. But you weren't there. So I repeated a year and came to South Pine to test in. That sentence contained a lot of information. The most shocking thing was, how did Willow Ashworth know I would test into Northbridge University? The original Sincere had indeed gone to Northbridge. Chasing brother has been so hard. This chasing, which kind of chasing was it? The chasing to kill. I stared at her warily. What exactly do you want? She looked relaxed, nothing, just repaying brother's kindness for the meals. I laughed, exasperated. Repay kindness? By pretending to be innocent and naive to play with me, that's your way of repaying kindness? I didn't see any repayment of kindness. Seeking revenge, however, was crystal clear. Brother, don't call me brother. I'm not your brother. I can't afford to be your brother. Her expression instantly darkened. Though there was no obvious change, I felt a chilling wind around Willow Ashworth, an icy coldness. Her gaze was bone-chilling. You should go back. I'm returning to my dorm. 17. Willow Ashworth didn't leave. She kept squatting at the school gate. If I didn't go out, she wouldn't leave. Heavy snow began to fall, the sky grew darker, and it became colder. I even saw someone post on their social media, saw a devoted girl in the dead of winter. I cursed myself. A soft heart truly is a sickness, a terminal one. I hurried to the school gate. Willow Ashworth, almost a snowman, looked up, Her face flushed red, her lips purplish, yet she smiled triumphantly at me. I knew it. My soft-hearted God wouldn't ignore me. As soon as I got close, she slowly stood up and her whole body fell into my arms. "Are you unwell?" "Dizzy. I'll take you to the hospital." "No." I quickly booked a hotel online and took a taxi to get her there. Warmed by the heating, Willow Ashworth's face became even redder, an abnormal flush. I touched her forehead. It was burning. "You have a fever. I'll take you to the hospital." "No. You'll abandon me at the hospital." "Me. Take a hot bath. I'll go buy you cold medicine suddenly." She grabbed my hand. "Bro. Can I still call you brother?" Willow Ashworth's voice was heavy with nasality, low and weak, as she looked at me cautiously. "Me?" I nodded haphazardly. I took off my down jacket and then helped Willow Ashworth take off her shoes. Her shoes were soaking wet, almost frozen solid. Her socks were drenched. Her pant legs were also damp. Her feet were ice-cold and pale, even a bit chilling to the touch. This wouldn't do if her feet were frozen. Direct contact with hot water would cause frostbite. I squatted on the floor and rubbed her feet. While rubbing, I cursed myself for being a terminal case of soft-heartedness. Ankles, insteps, toes, soles, until they were red and warm. "All right, hurry up and take a bath. I'll go." She had sat up at some point, then suddenly lunged, cupped my face, and kissed me frantically. It wasn't until I was face to face with the soft ceiling light that I suddenly snapped awake. Meng Di Fan Shen violently turned over and pressed her down, restraining her hands. She stared straight at me. "Sincere Clark, I like you." I was flustered and didn't know what to do. I scrambled up. "I'll go buy you medicine." She grabbed my sleeve. "Will you come back?" Willow Ashworth's eyes made me vaguely see her childhood self, cold and crazed, with a ruthless determination to drag someone down with her. "Yes." She slowly released her grip, looked up at me. The corners of her mouth turned up, her eyes cold. "You'd better." When I left, she was sitting on the floor. When I returned with the medicine, she was still sitting on the floor. I hurried over to help her up. I counted to 1,571. She stared at me. "Sincere Clark, if you abandon me again, I'll go mad." 18. Running away wasn't realistic. I had thought about my relationship with Willow Ashworth. If it was sympathy in childhood, treating her as a little sister who needed care, then, from the first moment I saw her at the opening ceremony, my feelings might have started to change. I didn't want to admit I was shallow. But all that sympathy, that soft-heartedness, that anger and jealousy, I had indeed, like the original Sincere, fallen for her. Since that's the case, why not try to make it work? Epilogue. Willow Ashworth's Story 1. The timing of my rebirth wasn't quite right. I had just been kicked to the ground by my father because he woke up from his drunkenness and there was no hot water. My knee was scraped, my forehead hit the wall, and after a brief moment of dizziness, I realized I had returned to my childhood. I couldn't believe it, because just a second ago I was enjoying the ugly sight of him kneeling and crying before me, and I, unconsciously following the chaotic memories in my mind, wandered aimlessly. Just as I was wondering why I had walked to Sincere Clark's house, I saw a piece of candy. His eyes were full of sympathy and heartache. I found it surprising. A small candy wrapped in green, transparent paper. I had once picked one up. That third-grade boy said I stole his and beat me until my head bled. When I got home, my father beat me half to death again. Sincere Clark wasn't Sincere Clark anymore. I held that candy in my hand, reminiscing. More than half of my childhood suffering came from Sincere Clark. He deliberately bullied me, instigated others to bully me, framed me, and blamed me for things. But looking back, after I hit his head with a stone, everything seemed to change. He carefully picked up the fallen small cake, meticulously removed the dirty parts, and placed it on his family's garden wall, signaling me to take it. That was the small cake I desperately wanted but never got to eat in my previous life. The small cake that, in my previous life, Sincere Clark had crushed into mud with his foot, not even letting me pick it up to eat. The small cake that, no matter how I compensated myself as an adult, always felt like something was missing. After 2 lifetimes, I finally ate that small cake. It tasted so good, like a delicacy from heaven. If only I had been reborn a little earlier, I could have truly tasted that small cake. He brought me food, even if it was leftovers. I could never bring myself to eat that candy. I put it in a medicine bottle and carried it with me everywhere. Even after it expired, molded, and turned black, I kept it hidden. No one knew. That was my candy. 2. Sincere Clark was so good, sweet potatoes, eggs, teaching me to plant vegetables, tutoring me. I am an insidious person. I deliberately scored very poorly on tests, and when he tutored me, I deliberately did the problems wrong. I loved watching him look troubled, anxious, and angry for me, getting so mad he would even hit me. This kind of hitting was different from my father's. My father's hitting was disgust, hatred, venting anger. Sincere Clark's hitting was care, disappointment, anxiety, frustration that I wasn't living up to my potential. Ever since I can remember, no one had ever cared about me. Whether I lived or died, no one cared. Now Sincere Clark cared. I was cared for too, so I didn't let the teacher read my essay. If she did, everyone would know how good Sincere Clark was, and they would try to snatch him from me. He even brought me snap pops and spinning tops when he came back from the city, gave me a new pair of shoes, and took me to visit houses for New Year greetings. I didn't let Sincere Clark's younger cousin call him brother. He was my brother, mine alone. But I never got to wear my new shoes. I had placed them carefully by my pillow, planning to wear them first thing on New Year's morning. When I woke up, my father had thrown the shoes into the stove. Only the acrid smell of burnt plastic remained, and the charred ashes in the stove. I didn't dare tell Sincere Clark. I was afraid he would be unhappy. My mother was a university student who had been tricked into coming here. After giving birth to me, she originally wanted to stay and live a good life. So she named me Willow Chi Lee, meaning to leave distance, hoping I'd be a bit further from dreams, a bit closer to reality. But my father hit her, cursed her, so she secretly ran away. My father hated families with sons. He wanted to kill all the boys in the village. He made me try to trick Sincere Clark into coming home, wanting to bury him alive. I picked up a brick and threw it at him instead. This time I didn't run. I just wanted to beat him to death, to end the trouble once and for all. But in the end, I was small and weak. When I was hung up, I still tried my best to kick him, cursing him with all the vicious words I could think of. I counted to 4,372. Before I lost consciousness, I saw Sincere Clark. 3, wearing Spider-Man pajamas, his face full of anxiety and anger. Then, he covered me with his pajamas, like Spider-Man saving me from my suffering. A person has many unforgettable moments in their life. And for me, these many unforgettable moments were all because of Sincere Clark. Sincere Clark also came to see me on New Year's Eve. New clothes, new shoes, lucky money. I called his grandfather, not only to tell his grandfather to make him wary of my father, but also to ask Sincere Clark to answer the phone, to ask him to come and get me. He answered. He said, "You stay well in the hospital. I'll come pick you up on the weekend." He didn't come. Not until my mother had completed all the procedures. The weekend had passed, it was Wednesday, and he still hadn't come. I suddenly realized that to him, I was just a kid. Perhaps I should appear before him in a different image. So I left, deciding to find him when I grew up. When I missed him, I would count. When I couldn't bear it anymore, I would call his home. But his home phone number was disconnected. It was an empty number. I chased across the chasm of time, skipped grades to get into Northbridge, but he wasn't there. I even endured the nausea of attending my father's funeral to ask former neighbors and found out his whole family had moved to the city. And I also learned he had tested into South Pine. I stood by his family's low wall, at the spot where he used to leave candy, and took a photo. Half sky, half mountains. People have obsessions, like the cake they never ate as a child, the candy they picked up, and that person who is like a salvation. Only by possessing them can one be healed. Sincere Clark, I will always catch you.